And while it's a race to find survivors at the story building collapse, which raises loads of concerns. Joining us on the news at 10 is engineer Oroluwa Fadayomi. He's the past president of the Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers. Welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you.
What do you make of the tragedy of the last 24 hours? What do you think could have gone wrong?
Well, you've called it what it is, a tragedy indeed. And ever since then, most of us have been, those of us in the engineering industry, especially structural engineers, have been so, their mood had been down. When things like this happen, the first question people ask you is, who are the engineers? But before it happens, do they know who the structural engineers are? And these are the things, because it takes two to tango. Before you say you can put up a building, there are a lot of people that are involved, beginning with the client. And in particular, where the client does not pick his team right, because that's the key thing, then he's already sowing the seed for failure. It's the client that is responsible for picking the consulting team, picking the contractor, picking even those that are doing the soil engineering, the users, and so on and so forth. So it's a large responsibility, and you have government.
Let's situate it to this particular incident. Who takes responsibility? Didn't they see the disaster coming?
Yeah, you see, when you say who takes responsibility, I will say virtually everyone. Because, like I was trying to say, you have the client who plays the major role. And who are the clients? You and I, government, religious bodies, and so on and so forth. And you have organizations, Koren, NISTRUCT, and the people themselves. Each one of us have a role to play. And if, for instance, the government looks the other way when they shouldn't have, then there is a challenge. If the client fails to pick the right team, then there is a challenge. If the consulting engineer, the structural engineer, the architect, if everyone fails to play their role, then there is a challenge. Koren is a regulating body. If they look the other way around, then there is a problem. So the responsibility is all over. But when you look at who in particular, you point at the client, the professional, and the controlling bodies.
Finally, what do you expect will happen to surrounding buildings at the sites and, adjacent adjoining buildings with regards to the impact of this crash?
Yeah, you see, when you drop a stone, the impact of that stone is heavy on the ground. It leaves a hole in there. That is just a stone, not to talk of a 20-story building or a 21-story building that falls like a pack of cards. So you have a lot of vibration in that area. And if you look at the terrain, if you look at the type of soil that is within that area, then there will be a lot of vibration because it's fluid. You have dynamics all around down there. And all those buildings within that vicinity will feel the dynamics. And that's what happened when there was to be the implosion of the Bank of Industries building. I mean, in actual fact, we had to be called in to look at the flow, waves that moves horizontally in that direction. So,
Engineer,
yes.
I wish we had a lot of time to talk about this very important issue, but I must also bring you back to some of the comments you've made, and this is with regards to what has happened. We're looking at deaths in their numbers, and thankfully some have been rescued, but then where do we put this blame in taking responsibility for this disaster?
Well, this is one of the high-rise buildings that has collapsed. Even the number of deaths, well, it's not as serious as that of the synagogue, where over 100 died. But you put the issue, the problem and the challenges on the team. First of all, when you pick a quack to do, you don't call a tailor to do a carpenter's job. And that is where the entire thing begins from. So when you pick a wrong professional to do your job for you, you have, in this particular case, the client appears to be the contractor, because that's what we see on the signboard. How then do you control quality? Then you also have the ministry that oversees all of this. They are assumed to have done their due diligence unless the inquiry is carried out, like the governor has promised. It's very, very premature to pick holes and say it is A or B or C. The investigation has to be done.
This is a good place to leave it. Well, we really look forward to, indeed, that inquiry and other activities on this. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Engineer Reoluwa Fadayomi, past President, Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.